Manually selecting an AF point. First, press the AF point selection button to highlight the AF points in the viewfinder. You can manually select the AF point with either the multi-controller or by using the main dial to select the horizontal AF point and by using the quick control dial to move the points vertically. With custom function 391, you can move AF points with the multi-controller directly without first pressing any buttons. Changing the number of manually selectable AF points. Reducing the number of AF points you can select lets you move much faster from one point to another. You have 4 options to reduce the number of selectable AF points using custom function 310. AF point expansion. You can also expand the size of the active AF points using custom function 38. With custom function 380, only one AF point will be active. Custom function 381 lets you add a single AF point to the left and right of the point you've selected. You now have a small cluster of points you can move anywhere in the 45-point area. Custom function 382 activates a ring of 6 invisible AF points surrounding the point you've selected. Custom function 383. The 45-point option lets you select any single AF point and surrounds it with a larger cluster of up to 18 assist points. If the subject moves away from this area, the area will shift to maintain focus on your subject. Memorizing an AF point. You can register or memorize an AF point so you can instantly return to it at any time. Highlight the desired AF point in the viewfinder. Press and hold in the AF point selection button. Press the ISO button on top of the camera. Using custom function 311.1, you can use the multi-controller button to instantly return to your memorized AF point. Press it straight in. Press the multi-controller button again to return to your previous AF point. Or with custom function 311.2, you can jump temporarily to your memorized AF point by holding in the AE lock button. Release the button to return to your previous AF point. Orientation-linked AF points. With orientation-linked AF points, the camera will automatically change AF points when you turn the camera from horizontal to vertical. In other words, from landscape to portrait. Activate custom function 316.1 to allow selecting different AF points for horizontal and vertical shooting. Hold the camera in the horizontal position and navigate to the AF point you want to use. Switch the camera to the vertical position and again navigate to the AF point you want to use. Now press the shutter button halfway down. Your 2 different AF points are memorized. The standard ISO range for the Canon EOS 1D Mark IV is ISO 100 through 12,800. This range is 2 stops greater than the previous 1D camera, allowing comfortable shooting even in low light conditions. To simply change your ISO settings, press the ISO button on top of the camera and turn either dial. You'll see the ISO on the top LCD panel and in the finder. Press the shutter button halfway to enable the new setting. The Mark IV is capable of expanded ISO settings from ISO 50 to ISO 102,400 using custom function 1.3, thus enabling shooting in extreme low light conditions. 3 settings are available that exceed the standard ISO range of 12,800. Setting L or ISO 50 is available below the standard ISO range. To set an expanded ISO range, select custom function 1.3. You must first register or memorize the maximum and minimum ISOs you want to work with. Press the Set button, then highlight the word Register and press Set again. Press Set one more time and you can dial in your maximum ISO. Remember, you can always use lower ISOs than this. When you set the maximum ISO you'd like, press Set again. Now highlight the lowest ISO speed you'd like to have available with the quick control dial and repeat the procedure. Select Apply and press Set. When Enable is highlighted, press Set again. Now your choices are active. When Enable is highlighted, the range you've set is active. Note that the high range must be at least one stop above the low range. They cannot be equal. You can quickly return to the standard ISO range by selecting Disable. The high and low ISO range set using the register function will be remembered. Re-enable your memorized ISO expansion range at any time by selecting Enable in Custom Function 1.3. Setting shutter speed and aperture range. Custom Function 1.12 enables locking in a range of shutter speeds to prevent unwanted shutter speeds from being used. Custom Function 1.13 enables setting a range limit for apertures to prevent too high or too low an aperture value from being used. For instance, you could prevent the camera from shooting at shutter speeds faster than your sync speed if you're shooting with studio strobes. To set a limit for shutter speeds, select Custom Function 1.12. Select Register. Press the Set button. Select the maximum speed you want from 15 seconds to 1/8,000th of a second. Press Set again. Select the lowest speed from 30 seconds to 1/4000th of a second. Select Apply to enable these settings, and press Set one more time. It is possible to set the high and low range to the same setting to lock in a single shutter speed. Custom Function 1.13 is used to set a range of apertures. You can reduce the lens's range of apertures to prevent setting unwanted lens openings. You can even lock in one single aperture, which can be very useful when shooting with studio strobes. Similar to setting the range of shutter speeds, first select Register. Then set the minimum and maximum apertures desired. Next, select Apply and press Set. With Enable highlighted, press the Set button again to lock in your choices. You can apply both custom functions so that shutter speed and aperture are locked in. To return to normal ranges for shutter speed and aperture, select Custom Function 1.12 or 1.13 and select Disable. This will return you to the full range of shutter speeds and apertures. The registered settings will be remembered and can be re-enabled at any time. When shooting in dramatically changing lighting conditions, such as subjects moving from bright light to shade, it is possible to memorize an exposure setting so that you can quickly switch between settings. Once set, you can instantly switch your memorized settings by pressing the AE lock button on the back of the camera. Start by creating the camera settings that you want to memorize for one of the lighting conditions. This can include a different exposure mode, metering pattern, exposure compensation, aperture, and shutter speed. Set the camera as you want, then select Custom Function 1.14. Select Register. Press Set. Two options will now appear. Select AF on if you want the AF to start when you switch to the memorized metering modes. This can be very helpful if you need to acquire focus and use the memorized exposure settings simultaneously. To use the memorized settings, press and hold down the AE lock button. Release the AE lock button to return to your previous exposure settings. Custom Function 1.14 enables quick switching between two sets of exposure settings. Very handy in changing light conditions. The two LCD displays show valuable information about your camera settings. The top display shows the basic shooting settings, including exposure information, metering mode, shooting mode, drive mode, ISO, and exposure level. The lower LCD display shows SD or CF card information and image size and quality information. White balance and folder information are also included in the lower panel. It's possible to view this information on the main color LCD monitor by using custom functions 4.8 for the lower LCD panel and custom function 2.10 for displaying the top panel camera settings. Custom function 4.8 enables you to see the lower LCD panel information on the main LCD monitor when you press the function button. Each time you press the function button, you'll switch what's displayed on the LCD monitor from white balance to image size to media and folder settings. We highly recommend this option since it's far easier to see than on a small LCD panel. Custom function 2.10 changes what is displayed on the main LCD monitor when you press the Info button. Option 0, the default, displays the shooting functions when the Info button is pressed. When you do, all the settings visible on the top LCD panel are now visible on the rear LCD monitor as well. Much easier to see, and you can still adjust any settings you like. Selecting Option 1 displays specific camera settings such as picture style, color space, file names, and white balance, shift, and bracket. These two custom functions make changing camera settings more easily accessible, especially in situations where seeing the smaller LCD panels is difficult. The EOS 1D Mark IV has slots for both a CF card and an SD card. With two cards installed, you can select different file sizes and RAW or JPEG for each card by pressing the function button on the back of the camera. Turn the main dial to highlight Card 1 or Card 2. Card 1 is the CF card. Card 2 is the SD card. Select the image size and type you want to record on that card. Turn the quick control dial to set the image size for each card. The image size setting is displayed on the LCD panel below each card. You can also manage how recording is done with two cards installed. This is located in the first setup menu. Select the Record function plus Media folder selection and press Set. Select Record function using the quick control dial. Press Set. You can select from 4 options. The standard setting records to one card at a time, even if two cards are installed. File size and type are the same for both cards. This is the camera's default setting. The Auto Switch Media option records to the card that was set using the function button. When this card is full, it automatically switches to the second card. The Record Separately setting records simultaneously to both cards, but you can choose totally different image sizes or even file types for each card using the function button and the rear quick control dial. Turn the main dial to select the card you want to set. The Record to Multiple setting records images to both cards simultaneously at the same image size. After selecting the recording method in the setup menu with the quick control dial, press Set. Using the folder option in the same setup menu, you can create a new folder and select the folder you want to use to store your images. Select the folder option. Press Set. Turn the quick control dial to select Create Folder. Press Set. Use the quick control dial to highlight OK. Press Set. When you have more than one folder on your media card, more than one folder will be displayed on the Select Folder screen. You'll also see small thumbnail images of the first and last shot in whichever folder is selected. You can freely select any folder to store images you're about to take. Use the quick control dial to select the desired folder. Press Set. Images will now be recorded in this folder. Please note that you can't move images already taken from one folder to another within the camera, but you can change folders at any time for images you're about to take. Memorize settings. The Canon EOS 1D Mark IV can be customized to meet the needs of any photographer. But with so many choices and combinations, it is sometimes advantageous to be able to quickly return to a known set of basic settings. There are two options available in the third Setup menu tab. Register and Apply Basic Settings lets you return a host of different camera settings back to a starting point you've defined by selecting a menu setting. Use the quick control dial to select Register and Apply Basic Settings. Press Set. Turn the quick control dial and select Register. Press Set. You can now choose to register or memorize up to 9 settings. Use the quick control dial to select each or all of the 9 settings. Press Set to change each one. Once you've set the functions you want to remember, press the Menu button. You now can go about shooting even with totally different settings. To apply the memorized settings at any time, go to the Register, Apply, Basic Settings in the third Setup menu. Press Set. Next, use the quick control dial. Select Apply. Press Set. The camera will now return to those settings you memorized with this procedure. Saving Load Settings on Media. You can save all your camera settings and custom functions to a memory card. The card can then be used to restore your camera settings or apply these settings to another EOS 1D Mark IV camera. This is called Save Load Settings on Media. First, insert a memory card that you want to save your settings on. In the third Setup menu, use the quick control dial to select Save Load Settings on Media. Press Set. Use the quick control dial and select Save. Press Set. Select Start. Press Set. Your camera settings will be saved onto your memory card. Keep this card handy, and by installing it in this or any other EOS 1D Mark IV body, you can upload almost all your preferred settings and custom functions. Loading settings. To install saved settings to an EOS 1D Mark IV camera, insert the card with your saved settings. In the Save Load Settings on Media menu, use the multi-controller to highlight Load. Select the saved settings file and press Set. The EOS 1D Mark IV lets you memorize and store up to 5 different white balance settings for different lighting conditions. As you change from one lighting condition to another, you can easily call up any of these 5 white balance settings. A custom white balance can be set by photographing a solid white or neutral gray object and then registering the setting later, or by shooting and registering the setting simultaneously. Note that when photographing an image to record custom white balance, the white or neutral gray object should at least fill the center spot metering circle. Focus manually and expose correctly. Registering an image on the card. If you've already taken a picture of a white or neutral gray object in this lighting condition, you can use it to create a custom white balance setting. Select Custom White Balance Register from the first shooting menu. Use the quick control dial to select Register Image on Card. Press the Set button. The images on the card will be displayed on the LCD screen. Use the quick control dial to scroll to the image to be used to create the custom white balance setting. Note that to quickly find a reference image, you can show 4 or 9 images on the LCD monitor by pressing the AE Lock Zoom Out button. Turn the quick control dial to highlight OK. Press Set. The message Use White Balance Data for this image for custom white balance, followed by the number 1 through 5 will be displayed. Press Set to store the white balance information in that location. Record and register an image. If you don't already have a test image, you can shoot one using the lighting that you want to set the white balance for. Select Custom White Balance Register from the first shooting menu. Press Set. First select the custom white balance number that you want to save the setting to. Press Set. Use the quick control dial to select the number 1 through 5. Press Set. Next, turn the quick control dial to select Record and Register Image. Press Set. At this point, the LCD monitor will turn off and the number you selected will blink on the lower LCD panel. Photograph a solid white or neutral gray object. The custom white balance setting will be saved. Naming a custom white balance setting. You can add a descriptive name to your saved custom white balance settings. Select the custom white balance number that you want to add a name to, and then use the quick control dial to select Edit Caption. Press Set. Press the Protect Voice Memo button to activate the text display and enter a descriptive name for the custom white balance setting. Press the Menu button to save it. Selecting and shooting with custom white balance. Once you've memorized one or more custom white balance settings, you can call them up as follows. Go to the Custom White Balance Registration screen and select the number for the saved white balance setting. Use the quick control dial to select Set as White Balance. Press Set. Then, make sure to set the white balance on your camera to custom. Press the Function button and highlight the Custom White Balance icon. Using the My Menu settings. The My Menu tab permits you to register up to 6 menu options or custom functions. This is a good place for you to put the camera options that are frequently used so that they are easily and quickly accessible. Registering a menu option. Press the Menu button and navigate to the My Menu settings with the green Star tab. Press Set. Turn the quick control dial to highlight Register and press Set again. Use the quick control dial to select the item from the list that you want to register. This can be a menu item or a custom function group. Press Set. A new dialog will appear asking you to confirm the choice Register in My Menu. Choose OK and press Set. Press the Menu button to return to the My Menu settings options. You can store up to 6 items in My Menu settings. Managing My Menu. You can sort or delete items from your My Menu list at any time. To change the sort order, highlight Sort and press Set. Use the quick control dial to highlight the item you want to move up or down in the list. Press Set. Now, use the quick control dial again to move the item. Press Set to lock in the new sort order. To delete an item from your My Menu list, select Delete from My Menu Settings. Use the quick control dial to highlight the item you want to remove from your list. Press Set. Select OK to confirm deleting the item, and press Set again. To remove all the items in the My Menu list, choose Delete All Items. Select OK and press Set. Keep in mind, this only removes these items from My Menu. They'll always be available in their original location. If you want your My Menu settings to automatically be displayed first every time you press the menu button, use the Display from My Menu option and select Enable. Setting up to shoot movies. Many photographers have found the ability of being able to shoot HD video using their still camera and lenses to be invaluable. Getting set up is easy to do. First, you have to set the camera so that when you use Live View, you will be in movie mode. Initial Setup. In the second Setup tab, select Live View Movie Function Settings. Press the Set button. Use the quick control dial to select Movies and press Set. Next, select the movie recording size. Press Set. Now you're ready to begin recording movies using Live View. Press the Menu button to exit the menu. Recording a movie. To start recording a movie, first activate Live View by pressing the Set button. Then, press the FEL button next to the shutter button to start recording. To stop recording, press the FEL button again. Note that the FEL button can be set to simultaneously start Live View and video recording with one press by setting Custom Function 4.11 and selecting Option 1, Quick Start. Automatic Exposure Control. For automatic exposure control during video recording, choose any shooting mode other than manual. You'll get fully automatic exposure with the camera always selecting video shutter speed and aperture. To change modes, press the Mode button and select any mode but manual. Auto exposure will now be set. The exposure used during movie recording may be different from the exposure set for still shooting. The ISO will be set automatically during movie recording. The ISO will range from 100 to 12,800 unless you've set ISO expansion using Custom Function 1.3, in which case the full range of the upper limit will be used. It's not possible to use the low ISO expansion during movie recording. Manual exposure shooting. To set the camera to manual exposure, press the Mode button and use the quick control dial to select M. When shooting movies using manual exposure, the shutter speed can be set within the range of 1/30th to 1/4000th of a second. The aperture can be set using the quick control dial. The ISO can be set to a specific setting or can be set to auto ISO, which is very helpful with the manual exposure setting when shooting movies. Ideally, it is recommended to shoot movies with a shutter speed of 1/30th to 1/125th of a second to maintain smooth movement of your subjects. Using audio. In the second Setup tab, select Live View Movie Function Settings and press Set. Use the quick control dial to highlight Sound Recording. Select On and press Set. When sound recording is set to on, the camera's internal microphone will record sound. When an external microphone is connected, the in-camera mic will be disabled, thus preventing unwanted camera noise from being recorded. The Canon EOS 1D Mark IV automatically goes through a self-cleaning process every time the camera is turned on or off. However, the self-cleaning process can be manually executed at any time. Cleaning the sensor. Select Setup tab 3 and use the quick control dial to highlight Sensor Cleaning. Press Set. Select Clean Now and press the Set button again. The camera will go through the sensor cleaning process, and when it is finished, it will return to the sensor cleaning menu. You'll hear the sound of the shutter curtains being activated. This is normal. Press the Menu button to exit. Note that the automatic sensor cleaning can also be disabled in the sensor cleaning menu, so that the camera skips the automatic cleaning process when the camera is turned on or off. Dust Delete Data. Even with the 1D Mark IV's excellent automatic sensor cleaning, you can sometimes get dust on the sensor. By capturing dust delete data and using Canon's Digital Photo Professional software, dust can be automatically removed. The Dust Delete Data option is found on the second shooting menu. Use the quick control dial to highlight OK and press Set. The camera will go through the sensor cleaning process and then display the following message. Press the shutter button completely when ready for shooting. Set the camera to manual focus and focus the lens to infinity, using a lens with a focal length of 50 millimeters or greater. Fill the frame with a solid white object, such as a piece of white paper. Even though you're focused at infinity, shoot the object from about 1 foot away. Press the shutter button. When the camera is finished processing the data, you will see the message, Data Obtained. Select OK to return to the menu. The Dust Delete data will be stored with each image, JPEG or RAW, taken after the data was obtained. The test image of the white object will not be saved. The procedure should be repeated if you change lenses. Dust removal with Digital Photo Professional software. It is easy to remove dust using Canon's DPP software. First, select all the images for which Dust Delete data has been recorded. In the Adjustments pull-down menu, select Apply Dust Delete Data. DPP will now automatically remove any identified dust spots, and the image is then saved or transferred to Photoshop. Manually cleaning the sensor. In the third setup menu, highlight Sensor Cleaning. Press Set. Next, use the quick control dial to select Clean Manually and press Set again. The mirror will lock in the up position and the shutter will open. Remove the lens or the body cover and manually clean the sensor. Please note, the imaging sensor is very delicate. Use a plain blower and do not insert the blower nozzle past the lens mount. We do not recommend touching the front of the sensor. Do not use a brush. If you cannot remove the dust on the sensor with a blower, have the sensor cleaned by a Canon service center. The AF On button can be customized for a variety of photographic situations. Custom function 4.1 controls the functionality of the shutter button and the AF on button located on the back of the camera. Custom function 4.1-0, metering plus AF start. The default camera setting of custom function 4.1 sets the shutter button to start both the AF and metering systems. With this setting active, the AF on button will also initiate the AF system. Custom function 4.1-1. This setting turns the AF on button into a focus lock button. Half depressing the shutter button starts the AF operation and the metering system. Pressing the AF on button will stop the AF operation, thus locking the focus. This enables quickly recomposing shots. This custom function works best with AI Servo enabled. Custom function 4.1-2. With custom function 4.1-2 set and AI Servo AF enabled, you have complete control. Half depressing the shutter button starts the metering system without autofocus. The camera can be manually focused at any time. Pressing and holding the AF on button starts metering and focus tracking. This is perfect for moving subjects, allowing continuous shooting. Taking your thumb off the AF on button instantly locks the focus, allowing you to lock and recompose the shot. Metering will be continuous and is set when the shutter button is pressed halfway. Custom function 4.1-3. This custom function is perfect when you want to focus on the subject and lock exposure and then recompose the photograph. The AF on button will start metering and autofocus. Half depressing the shutter button will enable AE lock. When a subject is against a very light or dark background, this can be very helpful. Simply press the AF on button to start autofocus. Half depress the shutter button to lock exposure. Recompose and shoot. Custom function 4.1-4 completely disables the AF on button. Custom function 4.2, AF on AE lock button switch. Some photographers prefer to use the AE lock button as their rear autofocus button. By enabling custom function 4.2, you can reverse the functions of the AF on button and the AE lock button. The settings from custom functions 4.1 will now apply to the AE lock button on the back of the camera. Setting up the back buttons to suit your shooting style and to match the shooting conditions enables you to take fullest advantage of the autofocus and exposure settings on the Canon EOS 1D Mark IV. Understanding and using these custom functions will increase your success rate in a wide range of difficult shooting situations. The Canon EOS 1D Mark IV has an entirely new AI Servo 2 focusing algorithm that is more responsive and stable when tracking moving subjects. With AI Servo 2 AF, even if an obstacle is detected or if the AF point loses a subject, the focus tracking continues with predictive control based on the focusing result immediately before the obstacle was detected or before the subject was lost. If there is a sudden abnormal movement, it won't throw off the predictive focusing. Selecting AI Servo AF mode. Set the lens to AF. Press the AF Drive button and use the main dial to choose AI Servo. Focus tracking will be enabled when the shutter button is depressed halfway or by pressing the AF On button. Continuous shooting. High speed and low speed continuous modes will continually fire the shutter when the shutter button is held down. High speed will operate at up to 10 frames per second, and low speed will operate at 3 frames per second. These continuous shooting modes are extremely useful when combined with AI Servo AF when photographing moving subjects. Selecting the drive mode. Press the AF Drive button and use the quick control dial to select the desired mode. Selecting the best drive mode for the shooting situation gives you the best results possible. The AI Servo 2 algorithms minimize focusing errors and avoid over-response. Performance has been greatly improved in difficult lighting conditions, including low contrast and very bright conditions. AI Servo Tracking Sensitivity. Sensitivity for tracking subjects that move into the AF points can be set in any of 5 levels. To select tracking sensitivity, go to Custom Function 3.2. Press Set. Use the quick control dial to select slow or fast. When set towards the slow side, interruptions by other obstacles are less disruptive. Use this to photograph and keep track of one moving subject. When set toward the fast side, the AF system will refocus faster on any new subject that appears at the active AF point. It's best for quickly shooting different subjects located at random distances.